Hi students, how are you? It's good to see you back again. We are now in week 10 and in this week we'll be focusing on the writing of literature review as part of our journal article writing project for this semester. Okay, and keep in mind for this semester we'll be focusing on the writing of journal article as a whole. So please make sure that you have finished the sections that is being asked for each week. Okay, and for last week we have focused on the writing of introduction, and for this week we'll be focusing on the writing of literature review. So let's check the material for this week. So as you can see here, the agenda is two. The first one is we'll be having a quick review, and then the second one will be discussing about the literature review, what is it, and how to write down a literature review in a journal article. So as the question of the review, there's one question that I prepared for you today. So the first one is, how are you going with the drafting of your introduction? So for this question, because last week we were discussing about the drafting of your introduction, then I'm going to ask you to answer this in a form of Likert scale. So from number 1, very easy, or number 10, very difficult. So what I want you to do, I want you to pick up a number from 1 until 10 to describe how you're doing with the drafting of your introduction, whether it's very easy or very difficult. Pick up a number between 1 until 10, and then after that explain why you think it is that number, okay, why you choose that number. Okay, let's say for example, for me it is number 1 because I think it's very easy, because the examples given are easy to follow, for example. Or you pick up number 10 because I don't know what my topic is, and etc, etc. Okay, so post your answer for this review question in the YouTube comment, and then after that we'll be having a quick discussion later before we have our practicum session for this week. Okay, so after you have posted your answer for the review question, now we'll be focusing on looking at the literature review. So what is actually a review of literature? It is generally the purpose of review is to analyze critically a segment of a published body or not of knowledge through a summary, classification, comparison of prior research studies, a review of literature and theoretical articles. What does it mean is that we want to compare prior research studies that has been done towards a context of research, and of course the context of the research that we are talking about today is the context of the research that related to your to your research. Okay, so let's say for example you are talking about the information system, then the prior research studies that you are looking at is going to be related to the necessity of development of information system, for example, or why user responses are important for development of information system, for example. So a review of literature is very much necessary to investigate what is actually happening for this kind of context. Okay, so that's the function of a literature review. So how are we going to do a literature review? So the first one is you need to search for related articles to your topic. So of course there are plenty of journal articles to identify. Therefore, you're focusing only to articles that are related to your topic. So it's not necessary to find out the whole articles, but whole articles about IT because you're IT students, but of course something that is related to your what we call to your topic. Okay, and because we already discussed about your topic, we focus on the user responses of your topic. Then for your second final project, then it's going to narrow down the articles that you need to look for your literature review. Okay, and then after that, find the gap. It can be about what the research focuses on investigating. Okay, so what is actually the research focuses on when it is doing research, for example. Okay, so that's one thing that you need to be able to identify when you're doing a literature review. Okay, and in the next slide, I'm going to show you the way to present ideas for literature review. So first of all, you need to look for the articles that are related to your topic, and then the second one, read it, and then after that, find the gap. Whether and it can be about what the research focuses on investigating in the presentation of ideas in the article. So here is the example as I have mentioned to you in the previous slide. So as we talk about the literature review, then we talk about prior research studies. Therefore, we are looking at research that has been done previously. So it's quite similar like when you're doing a reference. However, it's not only stating about the reference itself, but you also need to explain about how the reference contribute to your research. For example, something like this. Okay, article by Su 2020 focuses on the development of information system. However, it did not tell clearly the purpose of the development of the information system, for example. Therefore, in my research, I'm going to focus on the explaining the purpose of the development of this information system because it is important to blah blah blah. Okay, so something like that. And then after that, the other example of explaining literature review is something like this. So again, literature review, it doesn't have to only focus on one article, but the more actually the merrier. Some publisher, if you tend to publish it, really ask you to have at least a certain number of a journal or review references mentioned in your article. So it's very good to have what we call more references to be discussed in your literature review. Okay, so this is the example of how you present two or more writers in literature review. So for example, Su 2020 and Chi 2021 claim that the information system will be useful to build for users, but they had no discussion about the importance of user in the development of an information system. Why user is necessary in the information system development is not clearly explained in this article. So something like that. Okay. Therefore, in my research, so what you're looking at in your research, you're going to meet this gap, or what we call it, to cover or solve this gap. Okay, so like minimizing the gap between the previous research with your research. So the problem in their research will be solved in your research. Okay, so for example, in number one, because it didn't tell clearly the purpose, then in my research, I'm going to clearly I'm going to clearly elaborate the purpose of the development of information system, something like that. Okay, and then for the second one, because the problem is they have no discussion about the importance of user. Sorry, it's supposed to be more than one. the importance of users in the development of information system. Therefore, in your research, you're going to focus on the discussion of importance of users in the development of an information system. Okay, so that is the example of the writing for a literature review. So later, after you discuss the literature review, you need to tell what is the aim after you read this. Therefore, your research is going to, focus on minimizing the gap by doing this study. Okay, so that's the example of the literature review writing. So now we'll be focusing on looking at literature review writing in general. Okay, so for most commonly, literature review has its own section in a journal article, meaning for the one that I have shown to you in the example of journal article. So some journal article requires a different section in a journal article writing. However, some writers opt for integrating the literature review in the introduction section. For me, I have some articles that I have published that has its own literature review section. However, some are actually combined. Okay, so we combine the literature review with the introduction section. Okay, and then also the format of a literature review may vary from discipline to discipline and from assignment to assignment, or from the demand of the publisher. So it really depends on what kind of discipline you are into, and then what kind of requirements of assignments where it's needed, or the demand from the publisher. Okay, so now we'll be writing. So the second part of your writing project will be continue with the drafting of literature review. So last week we have discussed about the introduction writing, and then for this week we'll be talking about the drafting of literature review. So I want you to start writing the literature review, and for your own topic. Okay, and keep in mind this is a group project, so everyone should contribute with the for the writing of the journal article parts. Okay, so that's the thing that you will do, and then we will discuss the result of your literature review writing in our practicum session. And then I would also remind you for this one, for the word count for our article writing. So as you see over here, the introduction and literature review is 450 to 500 words. So it means for this writing, for week 1 and week 2 writing, you can actually combine it into one section. Okay, because I was putting over here introduction plus literature review 450 to 500 words. However, if you would like to give a separation between the introduction and literature review, you are most welcome to do it, and you can actually add more words towards the word count. Okay, so the introduction probably like 250, and then literature review probably another 250. Or if you want to go more, it is okay, but you need to tell me previously. Okay, so that's for the word count for the introduction and literature review. And then for the methodology section, which is going to be discussed next week, because we're only talking about what kind of methodology that you will use for your journal article writing, so it will be only 200 to 250 words. However, for the result and discussion, because this is actually the main thing in the research that we want to see from you, then we'll be looking at some more comprehensive discussion. Okay, so 950 to 100 words. And then for the conclusion, we focus on 200 and 250 words. And then how about the reference, the abstract, and the title? All of those are not going to be counted in the word count. Okay, so we only focus on the writing for introduction, methodology, result and discussion, and conclusion. So we only count the word for this, but obviously we'll be also looking at the writing for reference and abstract, but we're not going to count that as part of our writing of journal articles. Okay, so that will bring me to the end of the material for this week, everyone. This is the reference for the article writing for today, and so that will bring me to the end. Thank you very much. If you have question, please do ask me. I will be happy to answer, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and the result of your drafting for literature review. Again, if for that one you can combine the literature review and the introduction, or you can also have your own section for the literature review. Okay, so that's all. Thank you, and see you in our practicum session, and have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.